You're taking that deep. There we go. There we go. Folks, welcome. This is the pre-sales call for LifterLMS. You've got me, Kurt, and Magic Will Middleton. We'll be here for the next hour or so. We're here to answer your questions about LifterLMS or maybe some WordPress stuff in general, if that's something that you'd like to toss in there. You can hit us up by filling in a comment, no matter where you're watching us, and we'll see that comment come in, and that'll help direct us on what we should talk about next.
Absolutely. Let's see. I'm sending out an email now for the live, now that we're live. We're live now. There we go. All right. Awesome. Just invited a ton of people.
And I think for today's exercise, I'm going to be in I think I'm going to be in the LinkedIn environment. So if anyone wants to, so I can answer things directly in LinkedIn as well.
Cool. Have any interesting LMS stories come up for you this last week?
What was that? I was turning on LinkedIn.
No, you're good. Any weekend launches for client sites or anything Monday, Tuesday this week that has been interesting LMS client site build subject?
No, I did have something interesting happen, and I'm almost embarrassed. I'll talk about it if you want me to.
Yeah.
So I have McAfee on my laptop. I have a PC. I'm not a Mac person. I have a McAfee, and McAfee enables a VPN sometimes. And so I can turn the VPN on, I can turn it off, whatever. But like if I power cycle the computer, by default, the VPN is on. Now, I don't think that's any kind of a big deal. I don't think. But I went into, I was going to make a blog post over the weekend. And when I signed into my website, it was all cattywampus, man. Everything was all over the place. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? And I just recently moved to a new server, right? So I was like, oh, what had happened here? And then, so I went and looked at a couple more sites, and then all of a sudden I got a too many requests thing right across the screen, like a white screen of death, but it said too many requests. And I believe it was error 429. And so I start looking up, error 429, like on Google, right? I'm going to figure this out. And there was all kinds like, do this, do that, do the other thing, turn off all your plugins, turn on all your plugins, do, all the normal troubleshooting things in WordPress. And so, dude, I went down this rabbit trail for about 90 minutes. And I already gave you the hint. I shouldn't have given you the hint up front. I should have made this we should have made this like a game show, who can guess the cause? Anyway, I was on chat with the host, and and this was kind of how I kind of started to get it. When we're working with clients and they'll say, well, I don't see this, that, and the other thing. And then we sign into their website and we're like, well, there it is. It's right there. Yeah. I can't duplicate your problem. You have something going on. Well, apparently, the VPN was interfering with my server. My server was thinking I was like a terrorist or something. So my VPN was coming from an IP address that is on one of their watch lists or something like that. And so this VPN that my security system had put into my computer was messing up everything. So I've got 30 something sites in this one account on my server, and some sites worked and some didn't. And I'm chatting in, and I'm telling you, I don't get angry anymore. I just kind of get like, oh, what's going to happen today? What's going to happen today? Yeah. And, and this was over the weekend, and I was just like, man, what is this? And then I looked down and I saw my VPN was on, and I go, I wonder. So I turned the VPN off, refreshed the screen, and poof, up came my beautiful website with none of the plugins activated because I had already troubleshot and deactivated everything. So then it took me another 20 minutes to turn everything back on and all that kind of stuff. But what that did inspire me to do was to take that new site that I had put for Mañana No Mas, and I decided to switch that over to SkyPilot. And I haven't actively started building pages yet, but I'm going to start like this week, I'll do a homepage and then replace the homepage on more of a Sky Pilot theme, and then, I'll just start bringing more and more of the Sky Pilot feel to Mañana No Mas rather than the Astra feel.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds good. I just did a podcast with Chris a little earlier about Sky Pilot, and like you mentioned even earlier, we're talking a lot about Sky Pilot. I don't think these logos are for Sky Pilot. There's the Earth bundle, but the yeah, it's a big new thing. A lot going on with it, and Chris had a nice metaphor. I love talking about metaphors and making up metaphors about mountain climbing and how it relates to building a website. Like climbing a mountain is just kind of like building a website. There's different ways to go about doing it and different platforms you can do it on. Some are more complicated than others and have different features and all that kind of stuff. But he talks about free climbing where there's no straps, no equipment. You just, I forgot that guy, what his name is, but his name, I think his first name's Alex, who went climbing the mountain like free solo up a massive like 90-degree cliff. And that's like the equivalent of building a site from scratch, coding it. Like you don't have any tools. It's just you coding from scratch, building this entire website. And then you introduce the concept of WordPress, which is like a tool. It's like having a backpack on your back. And then the plugins are things that you put in that backpack, like ropes and cooking stove and rain jacket. Like whatever you're putting in your backpack is sort of like a plugin that you're adding to WordPress. And each thing you put in your backpack is going to weigh you down, just like a plugin slows down your website a little bit. Where a complex theme might slow down your website a little bit, but there's certain utility that each item has to offer. So you're making that sacrifice of including an extra durable rope that is going to slow you down a little bit, but it's like an extra feature that that's added in for you. And over time, the technology improves, and like Chris had mentioned, rope is smaller and stronger than it used to be 20, 30 years ago. And so as the technology improves, as LifterLMS improves, as WordPress improves, now you got the block editor. That's like a rope that is smaller and faster. It's faster for site loading. It's faster for site building, so you don't have to add to page builders and all that kind of stuff. And it's more of a kind of a durable solution. I really like that metaphor.
I'll stick with that one. That's a good one.
And that's like the whole question I was asking in the first place is why is Sky Pilot something people would want to consider? Like, and so this brought up this metaphor of like, this is why this is an optimization.
It's hard to talk about themes and page builders with people that are brand new to WordPress, because people that are brand new to WordPress, they get lost in those Google searches for themes, and they end up on Theme Forest and iThemes and all these things where, they download something that they think is a theme, but it's not, like maybe, okay, so they think they think the theme is also a template, right? But it's not. It's like just a blank thing with green borders and strange fonts. And so, it's interesting to see the way people that are new to this vertical interpret and see things. And so, we start talking about Sky Pilot theme, and some people are like, oh, well, I want a website that looks just like LifterLMS. It's like, well, it's not going to look just like LifterLMS unless, of course, you copy all of our content. It's you still have to build everything out.
Yeah, and some themes do include starter sites like Astra, Cadence, include certain starter site plugins, but these are plugins that install basically these layouts on your website. And even within WordPress, there's a lot of templates included. Just out of the box, you install WordPress, you have all those patterns and whatever the other thing is called.
I tell you, man, it didn't used to be like that.
Yeah.
I can remember like 2004. Just what do I do in there? And then whatever you would put in the window never looked like what was on the page. You'd like click, and then you would publish, and then you go look at the page, you'd be like, what the hell is that? But it's the whole thing's gotten much better.
Yeah, and that is an interesting point about how what we build in the back end does not look like what we have on the front end. And it's sort of an abstraction of code. It doesn't look anything like what you see on the front end of the website. Like you see, PHP, and then the include files and all that kind of stuff at the top. And then on the front end of the website, we see all the CSS and printout of what the code looks like. Even in HTML, it doesn't look the same. It's got all this text that's formatted in a specific way, and on the front end, it looks all styled. And so we look at the WordPress editor and the blocks, and like maybe the video only shows half the player on the back end, but on the front end, it shows the whole player. That's pretty common. And there's that question that comes up all the time, like, why can't we just have it look the same on the back end as it is in the front end? Like basically have just the editor. And I think we'll get there. But that's not how the computers fundamentally work, with serving information and styling information. Like it's going to look a little bit different.
Yeah. I've had some customers that, does LifterLMS work okay with the Divi theme? Look at that, from Divi Banks. Yeah, LifterLMS works great with the Divi theme. In fact, I swore off Divi for the longest time as an individual. But I've had a lot of customers. There's a lot of people in the Lifter space that use Divi. And so I recently had a customer that wanted the course scheduler installed by Aspen Grove Studios, which is now WP Zone, right? So WP Zone offers a bunch of Divi tools and the course scheduler as a bundle, as a lifetime agency license. And so I bit the bullet and just bought the whole thing, dude. So yeah, I'm looking at working a little bit in Divi and getting a little more knowledgeable about it. I've just worked on a customer site in Divi, and then the newer interface is much nicer than what I experienced a couple of years ago on a customer's Divi site. Like the new interface is really clean. So yeah, it works great with Divi. I started talking about stuff that wasn't part of your question there, Mr. Divi Banks, but yeah, we like it.
Yeah, I haven't done too much with Divi. I haven't done too much other than client sites, but yeah. And one thing that's interesting that I just highlighted for a client was that I'm not good at design. I'm like, I know how to do anything in WordPress. I know how to design something a certain way. Like if you give me a picture, I could recreate that picture, or a PDF, I could recreate that PDF. But there are more abstract concepts like color theory, white space, balance. And these are more topics that designers study and work with in order to get better at. And that's like my design weakness. Or now I can call out concrete subjects that I'm bad at in design that I like. When people say like, what makes something look good? Like the client was like, how do we make this website look prettier? And I'm like, I don't know, but if you can tell me what you want it to look like, I can do that. But I don't know how, like, is it lacking balance? I don't know. Is it lacking good colors? I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure what exactly the problem is. And so I can't fix those design solutions.
So I have a corporate background in training material and technical writing. So technical writing is technical writing, and technical curriculum development it's technical curriculum development. Like it looks a certain, like you can make it look pretty, but it looks the way it looks. And then they would always go, oh, you guys are so good at this, you should come help our marketing department with something. And marketing people have a couple of key phrases that drive me out of my gourd, because I have a similar weakness to you, Will. But that would be sizzle and pizzazz. I would create something and they would go, well, I just wish it had a little more sizzle. And I'd be like, can you define sizzle? Because if you can define it, I can make it. But if you just want it to sizzle and you think I'm going to bring the sizzle, no. But when you're corporately employed and they're paying you more than six figures, they expect you to be able to just come up with everything. And it's like, no, you gotta hire a vendor, bring in a graphic designer. If you can't tell me your definition of pizzazz and sizzle, you're gonna have to hire someone that's a pizzazz and sizzle expert.
Yeah. And it's interesting to work with people who are pizzazz and sizzle experts. Like I would say the Sky Pilot theme, the LifterLMS Site Academy, and all that.
Because those people are crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely pops. And it's just like, I think maybe the first step to getting better at it is defining exactly what it is that I'm not good at related to design. So now if I were to study color theory, I might be able to point out issues in color theory. Or if I were to study balance and what that means and what that looks like, I would be more likely to see it.
When I was at Suzuki, I hired a woman named Michelle Cunningham. And me and Michelle, we still love each other. So I can say this publicly to thousands of people, and she'll think it's a compliment. She's crazy. And I would, but she's gifted. Oh my God, she's gifted. So I would be able to speak to her in narrative paragraph form, like, oh, hey, we need to make a course that, communicates this, and this to service writers and service managers and for curriculum development, blah, blah, blah. And she would make what I said a visual reference. She was really gifted. She was amazing at it. But she was crazy in that she would give you a demonstration of what she had made. And then in the background layers of something, like an articulate's made with a lot of layers. In one of the background layers, you would see like a millisecond of a tiger or an apple tree or something. And I have to go, hold on, pause, go back to that. This course is about motorcycles. What's the tiger? And she'd be like, it's a symbol of its obedience, but its strength, and you'd be like, no, the tiger's got to go. What's with the apple tree? An apple tree, that portrays wisdom. No, we don't need any wisdom. We just need to know how to fix a motorcycle. Yeah. So, no. So she was kind of crazy, but her work was phenomenal. And she would do animations and graphics, and I taught her how to do video. She sucked at video, but I taught her how to do video. And then, dude, she hasn't been unemployed since. During the pandemic, I think that girl had 3 jobs at the same time.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like associations, that's another aspect of design that I haven't studied at all. Is associations, like you said, like the apple tree is associated with wisdom, and like clouds are associated with peace, and so that's why we have clouds on our LifterLMS website, on our docs and everything. It's blue like sky, peaceful. It's all this like subconscious stuff, and it makes sense that like I'd rather look at a piece of documentation that has pictures of clouds in it than something that's just like black and white. Here's the text. Even though I'm going to that piece of documentation just to get the information and leave, the experience of that is contributed to by the associative colors and pictures and all that stuff. So that's a really interesting thing. We could come out with different themes, different LMS child themes. We don't even need child themes anymore. We just need, here's a JSON with some blocks in it. And of like different, it's templates, like different associative templates of like, are you selling a course about what would be an example course? That's always what I struggle with, is example courses. People throw examples at me every day, and then when it comes to selling an example course, I'm like, I don't know. Like what would be like a decent example course? It's not like a cooking course.
How to make a good cup of coffee.
Yeah, like how to make a good cup of coffee. And so like different mental associations that you want people to have with that course, you'd want to include in images and the colors and everything. Like that's just such an interesting thing. I don't know what the right decisions are to make regarding associations in those cases, but I'm realizing now that that's important. Let me see if we can pull up anything from the Facebook group.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Let's see. Let's pull up this one. I'm on this line of like, do I read the question before pulling it up, or do I just pull it up and see what happens? I'm going to pull it up and see what happens.
You just going to go blind?
We're going to go blind into these questions. Share screen.
You can do it.
There we go. All right. Wait, a question here. I don't know if this is a support question, but one of my course participants tells me that she signed up for a course, and when she goes to her dashboard and clicks on the course name, she's taken to a sales page for the course and cannot access the content. So this is after signing up, right? It tells me that she signed up. Yeah. This is
sounds like a caching issue.
Exactly. Yeah. The link in the dashboard leads to the sales page of the course. If you're using WordPress, go to the back end of your website, search for orders. If she's not there, she's on the users. She should have an order. Caching.
Yeah, and we shouldn't laugh at people's misfortunes with this, but a lot of times in a WordPress environment, and you can keep typing. I don't mean to interrupt you there, Will. I'm trying to take time while you're typing. Caching is a thing that hosts and website managers put into a site or to hosting that speeds up the site. It basically takes snapshots of the website and puts them in different places so it can load quicker for end users. But the problem is when you have a website that has dynamic content, things that change based on user role or payments, like an e-commerce store or something like that, that's called dynamic content. And so you don't want to cache dynamic content. So a lot of times when we see that clients are having issues with logging into a site or accessing a course that they've paid for, or something along those lines, it generally has to do with caching. So if someone has multiple caching tools in the back end of their website, which is not uncommon, people do it. They put plugins in all the time. There'll be a plugin that'll say, increase your website speed or something like that. Well, if you read the details, it'll say it uses caching. So, and like if you host with Cloudways, they'll put Breeze in the back of your site. So if you migrate a site from one host to another, there's the chance that you bring a plugin with your migration, but then your new host also automatically adds a plugin as part of that WordPress instance setup. And so if you have multiple caching plugins, they can conflict with each other. And sometimes if you have caching on your website and the server has caching, that can cause conflicts as well. So a lot of times we end up coaching people to turn off all their caching. So basically we'll say, purge all the cache in your website, like purge all the cache and then turn off all the caching and then see if you can still duplicate your condition or your problem. And in most cases, the caching goes away. The other thing that pops up periodically with people seeing weird things on their websites, not necessarily what was described in this question, but let's say you have 10 courses and you sign into your own website and you click the course catalog and none of the courses show up. That's a pucker moment for sure. You start to have a panic attack, but then after you catch that first or second breath, just go to permalinks in your settings area and flush the permalinks, which is basically, you want to have pretty links selected or something like that, and then select save, and then you want to save it again. Sometimes you want to save it twice, and then go back to your course catalog, and chances are, for some crazy reason, you'll see all your courses again. So cache and permalinks are two things that come up frequently when we're talking to customers about their data inside a dynamic website like an LMS.
Totally. And another common question is about sending data from one place to another outside of your WordPress website, and that's what this question is about, related to Zapier. I'm just going to take the question from the Facebook group, throw it in the YouTube chat, and highlight it that way. Might be a little bit
cool.
faster. But I want to link to a Digistore. I don't know what that is, but I think it's some sort of e-commerce platform online, and you want to sell there and then bring people into Lifter.
It's probably like a Shopify or something.
Yeah. I can select the course in step 2 in Zapier, but I don't have a placeholder for the student field. Then I see the names for the students already entered in. Lifter, so no placeholder. I don't know if there's a way to link Digistore with LifterLMS. I've never done that before. In Lifter Zapier currently, the Zapier integration doesn't support emails, student emails, so it's not possible to port in the student email field. Unfortunately, it's on our developers' backlog to take a look at fixing up that Zapier integration, so then the email fields can be passed in and out. So creating a Digistore integration, my recommendation would be checking out options related to your CRM and working with WP Fusion for now. WP Fusion, this is a little bit of a complex answer, but What WP Fusion allows you to do is take data from your CRM and port it into your LifterLMS website. So if someone, maybe an active campaign, gets a certain tag, or in MailChimp gets a certain tag, they can be enrolled into a course in LifterLMS via WP Fusion's link tag with auto enrollment feature. So they get a tag in MailChimp, they get auto enrolled into a course in LifterLMS via this WP Fusion tool. And then what we could do is figure out Digistore integration with the CRM. Like, does Digistore integrate with MailChimp so that when someone purchases a product in Digistore, they get a tag in MailChimp, because that would complete the flow. They purchase in Digistore, get the tag in MailChimp, they get the tag in MailChimp, they get the course in Lifter. It sort of completes that flow. So that's my recommendation for creating that integration right now. Once Zapier is back at full operating capacity with the email field being able to be passed, that'll open up that door as well.
You know, I think that's one thing that we could kind of adjust when we speak or present about WP Fusion, because it sounds complicated. Like whenever we talk about WP Fusion, we say, oh, well, it's complicated. You take this, you connect this, and then that connects to your CRM, and then this goes over here, and then this goes over there. And when we say it, yeah, it does sound confusing. But we should reassure folks a little bit that like WP Fusion is a little more intuitive, I think, like the way it connects to things. It just seems to work well. Like I saw, I was watching another podcast where Spencer Foreman was connecting WP Fusion through WooCommerce to show different things inside the My Account page, right? So it was a customized My Account page using short codes and stuff from WP Fusion. And to hear him talk about it sounded confusing, but to see him do it was much simpler.
Right. Yeah. The idea of passing data and multiple applications talking to each other is something that's very difficult to communicate without showing it. Like, it's more of a show, don't tell example. Once you see it working, like I put the data here, they get the tag in MailChimp, they get enrolled in the course. Once you see that interaction happen, it's so simple. But explaining how that actually works and like the API requests that are going both ways to pass the data back and forth, it's like kind of complicated to understand what's going on. But really, someone takes an action in MailChimp, something can happen in Lifter, and that's facilitated by this WP Fusion integration. It's like engagements in Lifter. The engagement system allows you to set up triggers and actions, like award an achievement, send an email. It's just sort of a more robust, more options available system to LifterLMS engagements.
Yeah. I have to get better at WP Fusion myself. That's one of those things. I mean, I look at how many sites so before I met you, Will, I think I had made like over 350 websites, you know? And then I was still a green pea at Elementor. I mean, I was just stumbling around. And then I finally had a couple of customers in a row that were like, oh, I want this and I want that and I want the other. And so instead of, like, I used to go in and play with the code in the editor and all that weird stuff way back in my early WordPress days. But then I realized, oh no, I could use these page builders to do things. And my first couple of throw togethers in Elementor were admittedly a mess. And it's amazing how quickly things can come together even after you've spent a bunch of time on something, right? So it's like over the last 3 years, I've gotten better at Elementor, and I'm adopting Divi, and I'm better with the block builder for sure, right? So like now my next thing is I did a bunch of stuff with the REST API over the last like 2.5 years, and some of the Grassblade stuff, obviously, that you know about. But now I'm like, okay, so then what other automations or what other things could I plug into? So now I'm getting more and more involved with the WP Fusion stuff. But it all comes with time, man. You can't be an expert on everything right out of the chute.
Yeah, coming with time is like a big thing for sure. One thing I thought of as a solution, just retroactively to go back to that other question, was maybe even something simpler. We talked about this, I think, last week. Making things simpler. We're talking about integrating with WP Fusion, Zapier, etc. What we could do is just create a free access plan in Lifter free enrollment link and then email them that free enrollment link after they make a purchase in Digistore. That's a pretty common setup where you don't actually need any LifterLMS add-ons to do that. You just create the free enrollment link for your Lifter site, put that free enrollment link in the email. And the challenge here is that someone could copy that link if they realize what's going on. They copy that link and email it to all their friends, and now a bunch of people get in for free. But you could use some simple custom CSS to obscure the pricing, the purchase page. So you can remove that it says access plan free. You just remove that with some CSS and remove that whole order area. So basically, it's like a course registration that it appears they've gotten a course registration email. They click that link, put in their email, password, first name, last name, whatever you want to collect, and then they're in. But I think that would work for a flow. And you could even use a REST API. The REST API does support passing email data. So if you had a developer on the team, they could pass data from Digistore into LifterLMS via the REST API. And if you can't afford the probably, I don't know, $600-700 project that would be, that's just kind of throwing out a number. I would estimate it would be around that range. Do the free access plan link until you make the money for the $600-700 budget upgrade to get a developer to code that and do a REST API for you, and then you're good to go. So there are solutions for free that you can deploy right now that could be upgraded later with the finances from the free. Like you're using the free plan to finance the more premium version.
Yeah. The crazier thing to talk about though is like, so I just had a Shopify customer. So this is why I'm coming from, right? I just had a Shopify customer and we were going through all kinds of mental gymnastics, like how to do this and how to do that and how to do the email notification. And then finally I was like, well, what else are you selling in your Shopify store? And she wasn't selling anything else in her Shopify store. I was like, then why aren't we just using the native payment gateway and Lifter and having a course site? Like what's the Shopify thing? And then she was like, oh, well, it was recommended to me and someone said I should use this and it's optimized and it SEO this and I'm like, stop. My head hurts already. Like you have a payment gateway that you can already use in Lifter. Just use that. Just do all your sales direct in that. And if you decide down the road that you want to sell coffee mugs, shirts, and tapestries and stuff like that, with the WooCommerce, you can just plug in. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I think that the confusion about what tools do and the value they add to the table is pretty common for people entering the market. When they hear something like Shopify, ClickFunnels, they do have these templates. Really what it is like a templated service that's hosted for you that has these optimized sales pages, and then they try to link it over to a WordPress platform that's a little bit more robust. You can create everything that those platforms do within WordPress with the same SEO, the same landing pages, all that kind of stuff with a page builder. It's just a little more like it's more the perception that somehow ClickFunnels has this optimization that WordPress can't do, and in some ways that is true. Where like ClickFunnels has the one-step checkout or the two-step checkout where we capture your email before asking you for a credit card. So if you leave on the credit card phase, we'll email you and ask you to come back. And there are like kind of privacy law consent issues with that. So you got to make sure they check a box that says they're good for marketing emails before they move to the step 2. But the there are some features that WooCommerce doesn't have that out of the box, and then products like ClickFunnels came along. Launch Flows is another one from Spencer that allows you to recreate this ClickFunnels style setup, and it would work kind of the same. But then you're at the point of deciding: do I buy these WordPress products and have it be all in my WordPress website, or do I go with the third-party platform and then try to pay for the integration between the two? Try to figure that out some way. And it's possible either way. Like there's, like Kurt says, there's more than one way to skin the cat here, and that is, there's not a right or wrong answer. You could do it either way. You could get the same result either way. It's just a little bit more first principles simple to try to put it within your WordPress site, have it under one roof, have it manageable in one place. So your VAs, whoever's working on your team, your developers don't have to know multiple platforms. They just have to have one login to get into the backend of your WordPress website. And it's a little bit simpler, but there's maybe not a right or wrong answer. It's just sort of a I don't know. That sounds like a complex setup. Maybe this is simpler for you. Um, and that all comes after the customer understands or the user understands what the value is that certain products add. Like most people don't know that like what makes it good for SEO. Like, oh, it's good for SEO. Cool. Why? Does Google like ClickFunnels for some reason? No, it's just that they structure their headings properly. Their templates are designed to be in compliance with like the latest releases of Google's they have this newsletter where they talk about the search engine and what the ranking factors are. It builds in templates for you to put in some internal links for your other pages on your website and external links. So then you're getting your internal external link count up. These are things that you can just do on your WordPress website, like me and Kurt and Chris and many people in the LifterLMS team do a lot of content work. So we're building this stuff out a little bit more manually. And ClickFunnels has it a little bit more in a templated process, but there's nothing that you couldn't get in WordPress that you could get over there. That I found, even regarding speed, because you can just cache the hell out of your sales page, like Kurt was talking about with avoiding caching on dynamic websites. You want to avoid caching on pages like your courses, your quizzes, your lessons, your login pages. These pages that are trying to serve different content based on the user. You really want to avoid that high level of caching, but you could institute high levels of caching on sales pages or your blog posts or your static content. You really just want to make sure that your dynamic content is being treated as dynamic content and your static content is being treated as static content. And once you can create that delineation between the two on the back end, you can really get the best of both worlds. I think, but that's a little more complicated than necessary in most cases. Most cases, if you have less than 1,000 students, don't worry about it. Like,
don't worry about it.
It's like just focus on getting that 1,000 students, and that'll bring in the cash flow for you to afford some of these next steps where you're actually splitting up the site and messing around with caching different assets and stuff. But until you're at that 1,000 student mark, it doesn't matter to your business as much as other items.
Like, did you get a chance to check out any of the Ahnen Summit from last week, Will?
I did not. Was there anything that you liked from it?
Yeah, but it's going to sound like I'm pushing friends. Ben was on from rocket.net. His session was really good. He was talking about how a server creates a fast environment and why they're fast and why they're secure and all kind. And it talked about, most hosts, most server companies are owned by other larger companies, and they're still independently owned. So it was kind of interesting to kind of see where that was going from. And then it felt like old days, man, because I saw Andrew. Andrew Palmer was one of the co-hosts, and then Stephanie was one of the co-hosts. And I remember I used to see them, every week on a different show. So that was kind of cool. But I thought Vito did a really good job putting the whole summit together. Had a lot of good people on.
Yeah,
I saw a guy named Saad Iqbal. He's one of the owners at WP Experts. He gave a really, really good talk. I enjoyed that.
I'm wondering, do they have the replays for that on YouTube, or is it just closed off?
I think it's through their site. It's the Adram.io site, and then they have a /summit. So I'll grab a link real quick, copy, and I'll put it in LinkedIn, and it'll pop up in your StreamYard. There it is. Boom. Yeah. And so they had a lot of good content in there. It was kind of cool. So there was stuff in there about like communications, growing your community, web hosting. There were a few different sessions on using AI. Everyone's hooked on the AI conversation. And then that one guy talked about CloudFest a little bit. And I was interested in possibly even going to CloudFest down in Austin. So I was interested to hear about that one.
Nice. I'm setting my password.
Yeah. And then Robbie spoke. I don't think he wore his LifterLMS shirt while he spoke, but he spoke. And I want to see his replay because I didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah. I mean, is it really a speech if you're not wearing LifterLMS merch?
I don't know, man. I don't know. do not know. I was trying to see if there was anyone else there that really stuck out to me. So, I was trying to keep it on as much as I could in between. Oh, this guy was awesome. Imran Sadiq. I'm probably saying his name wrong. Let me pull it up on the shared screen. Window. Boom. Are you seeing the Adoram page?
Yeah.
This guy, Imran Sadiq, the owner of Web Squadron. I guess Web Squadron's a pretty big thing. I'm not real knowledgeable about them, but he had a ton of people in the comment section commenting and like they knew him, and his talk was really, really good. It was about using LinkedIn and growing your audience and networking and how to approach people and all that kind of stuff. It was a pretty good talk. And I like that. I like when there's summits like this and people get on and talk about something other than WordPress, talk about growing your business on an external channel to the site. I like those concepts.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Bada boom, bada bing. I invited people in LinkedIn to put in their questions, but apparently people in LinkedIn know everything because I haven't gotten any questions yet.
Well, yeah, I'm just responding to more stuff on Facebook. I should also check out YouTube, a platform I frequently neglect the comments for. Let's see. Switch to Lifters YouTube. Switch to comments. Let's see what we have. Oh, nice. Can I set? Oh, this is a good question. Let's here we go. I mean, it's a question. Can I set the LifterLMS number of minutes after prerequisite course completion rather than number of days? For example, 3 minutes, and the system can't understand a decimal point of days. No. Let me say next question.
No.
Unfortunately, it doesn't support minutes. That is an interesting concept, though, like supporting minutes or hours or a smaller interval rather than days as a part of the drip features. I don't know when that would come into play. But yeah, there would be probably a way to do it. It would require custom code that refactors how the drip system works. So yeah, unfortunately, there's not a way to do number of minutes. I could throw that on our feature request board though, to incorporate smaller time values. Can you think of an example of when you would use that, Kurt? I don't really use drip very much myself.
I use drip in terms of days and weeks. I've never thought about using it in terms of minutes, because typically what happens is in my type of training, like in my power sports training, people will try to catch up or run through the training real quickly, right? But they don't retain anything and they don't use anything from the course. And the training that I create is meant to be implemented in the workplace. So what I do is I have them take a lesson and then they can't get to the next lesson for 3 to 5 days. And the idea there is you take the gold nugget or the core idea of that lesson and you implement it in the workplace for 3 or 4 days to see if it has a positive net gain, right? And then you come take the next lesson and the next lesson. So it helps with content retention. But by the minute, I can't think of why I would do that, unless you were going to factor in like a 20-minute gap, right? Because have you heard about people's retention of information if they take a certain amount of breaks in between learning content? Mm-hmm. So I could see why they might want to have an 18-minute break or a 15-minute break so that people don't just blow through the content. But I think that's one of the biggest problems with an online course, just being transparent and honest, is you go through all this work to build this content. You go through all this work and you're figuring out the best way to use it and retain the information. And then in the real world, a lot of end users just want to blow through the content so they can say they did it, right? But they don't get a net benefit from it. And so that's why people use a lot of the drip features.
Yeah. Yeah, the drip features do. I'll just highlight that comment. Yeah, the drip has a few different functions. I don't know exactly how you would institute that sort of gap interval in your learning content without just incorporating it into your videos or including quizzes as a part of the learning content. There's like the learning theory about attention spans not lasting longer than 7 minutes. So by creating your 7-minute videos, having a 3-minute video of something else, that would actually be kind of an interesting feature for a course. Is like you got 7 minutes on fixing a car, and then Kurt walks into his house and gets some hummus and eats it for 3 minutes, and that's a video you have to watch to move on. And then another 7-minute video regarding the topic, like we're back at the car. So it's like like that would be the way to incorporate required 3 minutes as a gap.
I love me some hummus. It would be fun to just break out at like a camping chair in your driveway with like a cold beer and be like, well, we just put an alternator in a Chevy truck. Have a beer.
Yeah, and then it's literally 3 minutes of the instructor just sitting there on their phone, and then like after 3 minutes they get up and go back over and like start lesson 2.
Yeah. I'm thinking in terms of other LMSs I've worked with. I've never seen a drip system work by the minute like that. So like, I've been in Moodle, Bridge, Learn Upon. You can do stuff in like with Articulate, you could set like a 3-minute timer in Articulate to end the SCORM package. You could do that, right? And then use GrassBlade to import the SCORM package to Lifter. But to be honest with you, Will, I'd have to have a real strong use case scenario to want to go down that path and overcomplicate my LMS if it was just for a 3-minute gap or a 5-minute gap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we could talk about Adam Silver coming to another live. Now he says he sips whiskey during his ultras. An ultra, by the way, folks, is that's Ultraman. If you remember, he used to get his power from the sun.
What? Oh,
you don't remember Ultraman?
I don't. I've seen like there's a certain like tradition. Like I saw this on like a program where a guy was touring India. People like sit there and like look at the sun and actually like get energy that way. I feel like he's more doing an ultra marathon, and I don't know if whiskey is the best support for an ultra marathon. But maybe if you mix in some like what's that powder that people use to get energy, like G Fuel or what's that sort of pre-workout? Mix pre-workout and whiskey.
Dude, you got to snort that pre-workout, man. Boom. You don't even put fluid in it. Don't put fluid in it. Just take it right off a spoon. All right, here we go. Tokyo. Ultraman. Dude, you need to watch this because this is right in line with your gun consumption. You've never seen Ultraman?
No, I don't know what this is.
Yep, there he is. Coming in from outer space. Come in, Tokyo. Hi, what's that? Oh, it's the sun. I'm dying. Oh, I saw that from the Earth one day. Let's see if we can catch Ultraman in action. Come on. Here he is. That's Ultraman, dude.
Oh, wow. And that's what Adam's doing now?
This is good stuff. This will be your homework for our next live.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's like wrestle with your troubleshooting problems, like Ultraman wrestling with an alligator.
Yeah. I'd like to see Adam Silver run in that outfit for 50 kilometers or whatever it is he ran.
Well, yeah, I guess we're almost at the hour because we're doing just 1 hour today. We're doing just 1 hour today, and tomorrow we'll be live another hour, same time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. We'll be live for 1 hour, answering LifterLMS pre-sales questions, going on the YouTube channel, answering more comments, answering more Facebook threads. I don't think I got to the bottom of the Facebook questions, so we'll jump into more of that tomorrow. Maybe some more Ultraman footage.
There was a topic that I queued for a discussion today that was in our Facebook page, and we could save it for tomorrow if you want. Maybe this will be a good preview. Folks, if you would like to know the difference between LifterLMS out of the box and LifterLMS in combination with Buddy Boss, be sure to tune in tomorrow.
Awesome. Tune in tomorrow, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you on tomorrow's live stream, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Will Middleton, Kurt Von Ahnen signing out for LifterLMS. Have a great rest of your day.
Right on, right on.